Hey, what is happening? It is Crypto Bobby, and today I want to take a look at some of the things that have happened in the past 24, 48 hours when it comes down to crypto, as well as some of the things that are going on over the month of December that I think could have some pretty significant price impacts in ways in which I'm looking to develop I would say, more refined investing strategy in the crypto world going into 2018, because I think you can have a specific investment thesis or a strategy that can work really well for quite a bit of time, but the crypto market can change really quickly, and it's important to try to study and learn as much as possible from a variety of sources. And that's really what I'm doing right now, is trying to stay as educated as possible in this sector to figure out kind of what the best places to potentially put my money are. If it's large cap cryptocurrencies, if it's mid cap cryptocurrencies, if it's exclusively in something like Bitcoin and Ethereum, or if it's better off making these smaller bets in some of these smaller altcoins. So that's what I want to talk a little bit about today, as well as how I think potentially the events that are happening in December might impact some things moving forward. So let's get into it. And if you are new to the channel by any chance, hit the subscribe button, the little notify bell. Next to that, I do daily videos on the subject of cryptocurrency, as well as a few times a week, I'll hop into YouTube Live and do what I call crypto happy hour. Just hang out, have some drinks, whether it's water, beer, whiskey, wine, whatever. Have some drinks, talk to you guys about what's going on in the crypto world. Usually weeknights between like 8 and 9 p.m. or so. So if you are new, hit that subscribe and the little notify bell. Next to that, if you've been around for the crypto happy hours and everything else, always appreciate it. And thank you guys so much. But hopping into it right now today, looking at on-chain FX and pulling up and sorting by the biggest gainers of the past 24 hours. So right now we have EOS, which is actually the largest gainer in the past 24 hours, followed by Coin as well. And I think it's really interesting in one of the ways, and quite frankly, one of the reasons I think on-chain FX, at least in the case of these videos, is helpful, because it not only shows the 24-hour change versus US dollars and allows you to sort that, but I really like the days since the all-time high, as well as the percentage down since the all-time high. I think that's really interesting, because when we're looking at EOS here right now, the all-time high, at least from on-chain FX's perspective, although this might go back a little bit further with EOS, but EOS is actually at an all-time high in the past 24 hours. And it's only down 4%. But you look at something like Coin, and you look at Coin and say, wow, Coin's crushing it today. It's up 17%, just a hair under EOS. But that's actually down 67% still from its all-time high. So while Coin is up quite a bit, it's still nowhere near what it was about 6 months ago, back in the really big altcoin run of the kind of early summer of 2017. So I think that's something that's really interesting to keep in mind when you are looking at some of these cryptocurrencies, because sometimes you can see, wow, this is moving crazy, it's really crushed it. And then you actually look and you see what's happening, with EOS. Okay, yeah, it's crushing it. It's basically at its all-time high. It established that today. Same can be said with SALT. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have Coin, which up the similar percentage gain in the past 24 hours, but that's actually still down almost 2/3 from its all-time high back in about 5-6 months ago, which is definitely notable. Now, looking at these cryptocurrencies and just looking at everything in general, I'll sort back to the biggest cryptocurrencies by market capitalization here. And as I'm looking at this, I've been thinking about how I'm going to continue to develop my strategy. And I've talked to a lot of people about what they're looking at and how they might be going about things. And I'll preface it with this. I am not necessarily a maximalist with anything. There are some people that will only put their money in Bitcoin. There are some people that will only put their money in Ethereum. There are some people that will only do new ICOs, whatever it is. I am not open or closed to any specific ones, or I'm really open to every single one of those opportunities and learning about how they might be effective. And I don't like to close myself off to specific ways to go about investing. And for right now, at least for the most part, it has, in the past month or so, been, I think, pretty helpful to be having a lot of your investment dollars into something like Bitcoin, to a lesser extent maybe Ethereum, But and Litecoin has done really well, at least over the month of November. But as I'm looking at having your money in some of these big, larger cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin has continued to do extremely, extremely well, lead the market obviously at all-time highs right now. And I think the tendency for a lot of people is to say, well, I want to find the next Bitcoin, I want to find the next Ethereum, I want to find the next Bitcoin Cash, whatever it might be. And doing that is I think, difficult in nature. But I'm starting to look at, and I'm probably going to put together a video after I go through a more in-depth research process on this, of trying to find certain crypto that has a really, that, might not be the next Bitcoin or Ethereum, not going to get to a $44 billion market cap, or even, obviously not a $184 billion market cap like Bitcoin, or a $40 billion market cap like Ethereum, but maybe something that could be more conservative in the case of, getting to a market cap like Cardano or Ethereum Classic, getting to a $3 billion market cap, because that is fairly realistic. There's multiple cryptocurrencies right now that are unicorn cryptos that are worth over $1 billion. And when I'm looking at that, I'm not necessarily thinking of, hey, I want to find something that's going to be, that right now is under $10 million in market cap, and I want to find the next $3 billion crypto, and I want to find something that's going to go up 300x, because maybe that's a possibility, but at the same point in time, I might be wasting my time trying to find those 300x returns, because that is extremely high. But are there any cryptocurrencies within this, let's say $100 million market cap to $300 million market cap that really could be, or even up to $500 million, that really could be that next unicorn crypto, that have a really strong shot and a really strong potential to be, even looking at it like the next type of, maybe like the next Cardano or Monero or something of that nature, where for the most part, we'll go year to date on Cardano, but for the most part is able to go from 2 cents all the way up to something like maybe 13 cents. And not necessarily that Cardano is very easy to predict, because if everybody could have predicted that, they would have all had their money in there and they would have all 5x their money. But that's the type of thing that I'm starting to look at, is outside of just having my money in Bitcoin or in Ethereum or in some of these other cryptocurrencies, which I think is going to be a very positive thing, to be frank, coming up in the next couple of months. Also looking at making some of these select bets, I would say, high risk, but also potential high return bets on some of these cryptocurrencies that might have that potential to take that are already fairly established, that are not these like sub $15 million market caps, but that are already fairly established, but that might be able to go from that kind of mid-tier, mid-cap type cryptocurrency to that upper echelon, something like how Cardano has done in this past month. That's kind of what I'm looking at, where Cardano was, a multi-$100 million market cap crypto, above $500 million in market capitalization, I believe, and now is above $3 billion in market cap. So what could potentially be those type of cryptocurrencies? And if you have ideas, if you have thought processes on that, I would be really interested to hear that too, because that's definitely one of the areas where I'm curious, and I always like to crowdsource information and hear from what you guys are thinking and where your heads might be at as far as things go. But that's one of the potential strategies that I'm looking at. And again, anytime I do implement a strategy, anytime I do make a big trade or anything like that, I definitely let you guys know, so you can either provide insight, you can tell me I'm an idiot, you can tell me whatever you'd like to do, but it's always helpful to hear feedback from folks that are watching this to get a good understanding of what's going on in the market and why you might make a move, why you might not make a move. But that's kind of what I'm looking at here, is what could be those mid-caps that could really go to that upper echelon, and not necessarily having to be the next Ethereum that is a $40 billion market cap. It doesn't have to go from $40 million to $400 or to $40 billion. It doesn't have to go 100x, but it could be something that could go 5x like Cardano did, or at this point in time like 6x basically. Something of that nature that could really generate some outsized returns in supplement to Bitcoin, which I think is interesting, especially coming up in the month of December. So if you guys aren't familiar, and definitely one of the things that you're going to want to check out is how the CME futures are going to work. and what this is going to potentially bring to the table with Bitcoin. And this is also in addition to that research video that I was just talking about how I'm probably going to go through the process of putting together a couple different maybe mid-cap cryptocurrencies that might have an opportunity. And obviously they might have an opportunity if everybody knew that the exact cryptocurrencies that were going to 5 or 10x, they would all be in them and you would all be making money. But it's educated guesses at this point in time as far as what that might be. But this is one of the big events that is happening. The CME Futures Group, or the CME Group's Bitcoin Futures. This is something that I think is really going to impact the price of Bitcoin on a potential positive note, but also could be potentially negative as well. But overall, I mean, I think it's going to have a big impact on the overall price of Bitcoin, not necessarily the adoption of Bitcoin, but the exposure that Bitcoin is going to be able to have to larger financial institutions that are not interested in taking the custodial, taking on the custodial risks that Bitcoin might present. So this is something I can basically throw this into the description here. But one of the big things about this is going to, in a lot of respects, really open up the door for large institutions, banks to go long and short traders on Bitcoin. And it's going to provide the opportunity to really, I think, in a lot of respects, make not for the average everyday person. I believe the minimum contract or the one contract on the CME Group's futures is 5 Bitcoin, I believe, off the top of my head. Could be wrong, but I mean that's talking about $50,000 bets essentially, or $50,000 trades. So this isn't something the CME futures for now are not something that the average person is going to have to worry about or take part in by any stretch. But it's something that you're going to want to keep an eye on, because it is going to enable people to go long and short on Bitcoin without having to directly hold that Bitcoin, according to a Bitcoin index price that CME is establishing from a number of different exchanges. So this is, I think, the potential. There are a couple places now where institutional investors, large investors, think banks, think Wall Street, think large traders are going to be able to buy and sell Bitcoin without needing to to hold. This is one of the first big. This is one of the first big opportunities for that to happen. There have been a few other smaller scale over the counter type, over the counter OTC stock indexes, things of that nature. But this is really going to be, I think, potentially one of the big inflection points in terms of having not just retail investors like me and you and a lot of other sometimes sophisticated, sometimes unsophisticated investors. This is really going to bring on board some pretty big sophisticated investors into the Bitcoin world. And then to correct myself as I was reading this, it actually is each Bitcoin futures contract is 5 Bitcoins. So at market price, about $55,000. So that's not again, not something that I'm going to be making any $55,000 Bitcoin contract trades for the most part. Highly doubt that on my end. Maybe you're different, but that's definitely something to keep in mind. But goes to show that the size and sophistication of one contract is a $55,000 trade, here. So definitely something you want to keep in mind. But I do think that this is going to really be interesting in terms of how it develops the Bitcoin market and how it affects the Bitcoin price. This is something that starts December 18th is when the CME Bitcoin futures are scheduled to launch. So December 18th. Going up into the 2 weeks now, being December 2nd now, basically going up into the 16 days prior to the futures. We'll see how that ends up moving the market. We'll see after how that ends up moving the market, whether it is positive, whether there is really a huge deluge of institutional investors or large-scale investors that are ready to bet on the price of Bitcoin and ready to speculate on the price of Bitcoin to go up, or if there's all those people out there like Jamie Dimon and all the other traditional financial professionals that are saying, hey, Bitcoin's a fraud, Bitcoin's a Ponzi, blah blah blah, and now we have an opportunity to bet that it's going to go down, and we're going to take that bet. And we'll see if some of those folks put their money where their mouth is as well. So it's going to be a very interesting time. And as I'm looking at this, I'm still stacking Bitcoin. That's kind of one of my big things as I'm going forward, continually dollar cost averaging in Bitcoin, because everything that in my basically everything that my gut's telling me is Bitcoin is going to continue to increase in value. Will there potentially be some altcoins and some other crypto assets that might outpace that? Yes, but I do think that Bitcoin is going to continually increase in value to the point where, we could potentially see in the year of 2018, $15,000-$20,000 Bitcoin. I really would not doubt that, especially if people out there start to truly view cryptocurrency and Bitcoin specifically as a new asset class in the financial world. So it's going to be fantastic to watch and see. But as of that, like I said, guys, I'm looking at right now, I'm trying to develop that thesis and I'm trying to kind of put some things together for you as far as what's going to be an interesting way to approach 2018 and where those sweet spots to look at. The places that are going to give you a potentially significant amount of return, at least in relation to crypto, because the entire crypto market typically has a pretty significant return, but that are going to give you that outsized returns, but also have not the craziest amounts of risk. I think that's where you want to draw that line. For some people, that's just simply Bitcoin. For some people, Bitcoin is risky enough, and they're happy with those returns. And I do want to do some pretty strong evaluation and due diligence to see if it's is it Bitcoin, is it Ethereum, is it a combination of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, whatever it might be. Should I be looking at privacy coins like Zcash, which I've made a pretty big bet on Zcash previously? Should it be trying to find the next platform? Is there going to be another cryptocurrency out there that can replace Ethereum? Is Ethereum technically sound enough? Is it scalable enough? Or is something like EOS or Cardano or Neo or Lisk, is that really that next true cryptocurrency? And at $44 billion, Ethereum is significantly overvalued, and maybe those ones are undervalued. That's all the type of research that I want to do in the near future here. Figured I would give you guys a heads up on that. But if you do have any specific kind of investment theses that you're looking at, strategies as a whole, I would really love to hear about them as they continue to develop here. Now, outside of that, within the marketplace now, being that we're still basically at all-time highs, $311 billion total crypto market cap, I still do remain very bullish on where we are for the time being. I am, for the crypto that for the fiat that I have to put in this, it's in crypto, and not necessarily taking any money off the table now. I'm not trying to call the top, like I said before. I don't want to try to call the top and try to be the first one, because you can get burned if it keeps going up, and I don't think there's any advantage for me to sit here and try to call that top. So I'm looking at this market right now, continually to develop those strategies, and would love to hear what you guys are thinking and saying, especially too as it might relate to the institutional money that's coming to the space with these CME futures, and how those Bitcoin contracts might positively or negatively affect the crypto market landscape. Outside of that, guys, like I said, every day, daily cryptocurrency content. So hit the subscribe button, the notify bell for that. And if you want to join for the next crypto happy hour, hit that notify bell so that when I do go live, you get that little notification. It'll pop up and you can be ready. Come in, say what's up, say I'm an idiot, whatever you'd like to do. Thank you so much for your time, guys. I really do appreciate it. Crypto Bobby signing out. Peace.